I don't know if you've noticed this phenomenon. Many people who were born into ordinary families with very average family backgrounds, but who are very beautiful, often end up being around 30 or even over 30 and still unmarried. They've had quite a few relationships, but somehow they just haven't gotten married. In most people's minds, you might think that as long as a girl is pretty, no matter what her family background is, she won't have trouble finding someone to marry, because there are so many people pursuing her, she should be able to get married easily. But in reality, that's often not the case. The more ordinary the background, in fact, beautiful girls from poor families are often even more likely to become older, unmarried women. So why is that? Let's talk about the deeper reasons behind this. First of all, those girls who are good looking, no matter what kind of family they come from during their school years, whether it's middle school, high school, or university, are usually the class beauty or even the school beauty. And this typically starts from middle school. There will be plenty of admirers around her, with all kinds of boys sending her little notes, small gifts, and even love letters. She definitely receives quite a lot of them. This leads them to develop a certain mindset. I'm very beautiful, a lot of boys like me, and my looks are my greatest natural advantage. So later on, when it comes to marriage, they believe they absolutely shouldn't marry just anyone casually or easily. They must find someone with good family conditions, ideally, a guy who can help them achieve a leap in social class. Then, when they're in college or just starting to work in their early 20s, they usually do have quite a few suitors, some of whom come from decent family backgrounds. But as the number of people pursuing them increases, it's very likely that at this point, they become overwhelmed by all the choices. For example, this guy might have good conditions, but he's not handsome. That guy is gentle and considerate, but he's a bit short, and maybe there will be someone even better later on, so why not wait a little longer? Then, when she actually meets some rich second generation or officials' children who pursue her, she really becomes interested. She thinks that if she marries one of these guys, she can realize her dream of moving up the social ladder. But at this point, another situation often arises. When dating a rich second generation, although things are very sweet at first and they might even live together, once it comes to the point of discussing marriage, things often fall apart right at the last moment. Even if the guy really likes her, his parents will step in to stop it, arguing that their families are not a good match. The boy's parents feel that, since their family has tens of millions in savings, if their son marries a girl from a similarly wealthy background, it would be a powerful alliance that could help their son's future career and further grow the family fortune. But if he marries a girl from a poor family, she wouldn't be able to help their son at all in his career. She has nothing except a womb that can bear children. Marrying a girl like this is basically an act of charity. And if you get divorced, she could even take away part of your family's assets. So how could they possibly allow something like that to happen? After all, dating is dating, and marriage is marriage. They're two completely different things. If the other family looks down on you and you don't agree, there's really nothing you can do about it. As for those pretty girls, since many of the people who pursued them before were rich second-generation kids, it ends up making them less interested when ordinary boys from average families try to pursue them later on. They will subconsciously compare these boys to their previous rich second-generation boyfriends, and the more they compare, the less they feel they can accept the boys who are currently pursuing them. There's a saying, it's easy to go from frugality to luxury, but hard to go from luxury back to frugality. When she was with the rich second-generation boyfriend, she was used to frequenting all kinds of high-end venues and luxury brand name bags. Now, all of a sudden, she has to lower her standard of living to that of an ordinary person. For bags, she can only buy affordable alternatives or ones from street stalls. For meals, she can only eat at street vendors or small eateries. For her, this is very hard to accept. Deep down, she still hopes that she can meet and marry another guy whose circumstances aren't much different from her rich ex-boyfriend, so she can achieve her goal of moving up the social ladder. But as she gets older and her looks gradually fade, she finds herself drifting further and further away from her original dream. Yet, she's unwilling to settle for a man with very average conditions. Caught between her dreams and reality, she ends up waiting and waiting, eventually becoming an older, unmarried woman. Of course, there are indeed some girls from poor families who manage to marry into wealthy families, marrying a rich second-generation heir who persistently pursued them. However, the outcome is usually not very good. Most of the time, the marriage ends in divorce after just 3 or 4 years, and the woman ends up raising the child alone, becoming a single mother. This is actually understandable, since their family backgrounds are completely different from yours. The difference in living standards is too great. Even if your in-laws don't make things difficult, your wealthy husband will feel you're always spending his money, driving his car, living in his house, yet unable to provide any career support. Subconsciously, he'll see you as inferior to him. Whatever I say goes. And you can only listen to this kind of unequal marriage, where the husband and wife are not on the same footing, is bound to have problems over time. When you're no longer young and beautiful, and aside from having a child, you can't bring him anything else of value, it's highly likely that he'll start to resent you. And if you yourself don't have the ability to earn a living or live independently, if you don't know how to do anything except take care of the kids at home, you might also start to feel inferior yourself. In a marriage like this, divorce is only a matter of time. Usually, the son will stay with the husband. And if you have a daughter, you can take her with you. And then you'll get a divorce settlement and that's it. If you're lucky, you might find someone with a similar family background and a decent personality to remarry. Just look at the examples around you. You'll notice that marriages where there's a big difference in family backgrounds between the two sides, very few can actually last until the end. That's because the two people grew up in completely different family environments and have totally different levels of understanding. They're basically from two different worlds. In your family, the daily conversations might be about where to go for fun, what to eat today, or how much salary was earned this month. But in their family, the discussions are about which projects to invest in or which stocks to buy. That's because wealthy people are most concerned about the growth or shrinkage of their wealth, since their assets are already quite substantial. Meanwhile, poor people don't pay attention to these things at all because they simply don't have any money in their pockets. Things like inflation or deflation or currency appreciation and depreciation don't really have much to do with them, so they simply don't pay attention to these matters. Precisely because the focus is different, conflicts in daily life naturally arise. What might be considered the lowest standard of living in someone else's family could very well be the highest standard in your own family. What others consider everyday spending might seem extravagant to you. It might be a kind of luxury you can't even imagine. These differences and conflicts in values between two people and their families are basically very hard to change and are irreconcilable. So if people who live in completely different worlds insist on forming a family and living together, then the breakdown of the marriage is only a matter of time. Some people might say, but why do so many wealthy men in Hong Kong marry actresses from very ordinary families and they seem to live quite well? Aren't they using their beauty to cross social classes? That is indeed true. But what you don't know is that these actresses, besides being beautiful, also have many other strengths. The most obvious one is these women don't rely entirely on the wealthy families after marrying into them, but instead form a mutually supportive relationship with them. Even if one day they leave the wealthy family, they can still maintain their own lifestyle because they are financially independent and capable on their own. Without relying on the wealthy family, they can still live a good life. So you see, beauty is indeed a stepping stone. But beauty combined with intelligence is a woman's true weapon. It's understandable for girls to have such thoughts, but being too idealistic will only make them run into obstacles in the real world. If you want to achieve social mobility, having a pretty face certainly helps to some extent, but its actual impact is minimal. Ultimately, it's a person's overall qualities and abilities that make it possible. This has always been the key to moving up the social ladder, no matter the era.
Why older single women
to get married? In this video, I'm going to be honest with you. Why is it that so many older women keep going on blind dates but still can't get married? There's a logical reason behind this. Right now, in the dating market, the number of older single women in first-tier cities is in the hundreds of thousands, even millions, mainly concentrated in the 30 to 38 age range. And most of them are financially better off than the majority of men in the marriage market. Even though their conditions are so good, why is it still so hard for them to get married? Let me give you an example that truly reflects this situation. Back in May this year, a young woman came to me. She was an old acquaintance, and she told me directly that she didn't want any bride price. She just wanted to quickly find a suitable partner. She was born in 1994, had a master's degree, worked in a public institution, was about 160 centimeters tall, slightly chubby, had an annual salary of around 100,000 yuan, and her looks were about a 6 or 7 out of 10. She was really anxious. At her age, all the people around her with good conditions were either already married or already had partners. When she came to look for a partner, she said right away, "Teacher, I don't want any bride price. I only care about the person. My requirements aren't high. As long as we get along, that's enough." When we heard that, we thought her requirements weren't high. We introduced her to someone with a similar background and conditions. We suggested a few candidates. A man born in 1991, working in a public institution, with a master's degree earning 100,000 yuan a year, and both his parents are doctors. These are good conditions. As soon as she saw the information, she refused. She thought, if a man this age isn't married, his personality is bad, or there's something wrong with his health. Even after we explained he just worked a few years, then got his master's. So schooling delayed things. She wouldn't listen. She felt that's not the real reason. All right, we didn't want to force it with blind dates. Both sides have to be interested. Since she's older, we found someone younger for her, a man born in 1993, with a master's degree, a teacher at a military academy. She met him, and afterwards, her attitude was neither proactive nor rejecting. The man, however, was interested and took the initiative to show care. When we asked if she was willing, she just hemmed and hawed, saying his family background was too poor from the countryside, parents without social security, and a younger sister. She didn't want to get to know him further. In that moment, we didn't know what to say. Fine, so we tried to find another one to meet her requirements. We introduced her to another man who works at a bank, with both parents working in state-owned enterprises. He was a year younger than her. She went to meet him and felt that the man was, well, too effeminate and dull, lacking any masculine qualities. In the end, I was so frustrated. If you keep looking for a partner like this, even if you were willing to pay a dowry yourself, it would still be hard to find someone suitable. She said, well, I want to find someone compatible with similar conditions. After all, marriage is a lifelong matter. If I just marry anyone, who will take responsibility if I end up divorced? I understand when it comes to marriage, everyone wants to find someone they're truly satisfied with. But the reality is, if your requirements are too high, you just won't be able to find anyone who fits. I told her she needed to lower her standards a bit. She wanted someone over 175 centimeters tall, with a stable job, whose parents are retired, and who has a sunny personality. After hearing all that, I didn't waste any time. I went ahead and found someone who matched her criteria. A guy born in 1994, working at a state-owned enterprise about 185 centimeters tall. Both parents are teachers. And he also enjoys playing basketball and going on road trips. Their hobbies and interests are almost exactly the same. I thought this one definitely meets all her requirements. So what happened? She complained again, saying the guy's house is too far out, and on top of that, he has a mortgage. She did the math herself and realized he has a loan. The guy also has a mortgage, so after marriage, together they'd have to pay nearly 10,000 a month. She wasn't happy about that and hoped the guy could pay off his loan in advance, so after marriage, they'd only need to pay off her mortgage. But the thing is, her own house is still being lived in by her parents. Well, of course, the guy wasn't willing either, so the two of them just stopped contacting each other. Today I introduced her to another guy, a male teacher, who met all her requirements. But then she thought being a teacher wasn't a good job and didn't like the profession. In the end, I was so frustrated, I really wanted to fish her out of the pond and give her a good scolding. With the way she's picking, anyone who comes to the door, she just turns them away. Why do so many people go on blind dates? Even after meeting many, she can't get married. I'm not criticizing older single women, but honestly, she acts aloof, never taking initiative, never refusing, always keeping standards high, as if picking a concubine. No matter who you introduce, even if he meets all requirements, she feels something's missing. Either his emotional intelligence isn't good enough, so she doesn't want him, or his looks aren't up to par and she's embarrassed to be seen with him, or his personality isn't right, not funny enough, too rigid. It frustrates me. I just want to give up. I tell her, wake up, you're 30. If you keep being picky, soon you'll be looking at divorced men for your first marriage. She refuses to accept it, giving examples. Look at my cousin. She married late, even after divorce, and still found a great guy who had never been married. Or my friend, or maybe a coworker who didn't marry until 35 and ended up with a man with amazing qualities. So you see, it doesn't matter if you marry late. What matters is meeting the right person. Basically, from her talk, you'd think all her friends and colleagues are the wisest people on earth. Hearing this, I realized my well-intentioned advice probably isn't making much difference. If you try to reason with her, she'll just argue back. So you might as well let her figure it out on her own. After all, it's her cost to bear, and she'll have to deal with the consequences herself. Some lessons people just have to learn on their own. You only need to let someone learn a lesson once. These days, the era of trying to change your social class through marriage is long gone. The essence of marriage is about matching values.
Why is it so hard for older single women to get married? After analyzing it, I found there are three main reasons. The first group of people have standards that are just too high. They want a man who is rich, good-looking, tall, and strong. And on top of that, someone who treats them well, only likes them, and listens to them every day. Men like that are basically extinct. The second group is made up of their peers, colleagues, classmates, and friends of the same age, who, if they have good conditions, simply don't want to get married. Otherwise, they're already married. For men, age and the desire to find a partner are inversely related. The older they get, the less they want to look. But for women, age and the intention to get married are directly related. The older they get, the more they want to find someone. So some people ask, why is that? Because when women are young, they have a lot of people pursuing them. And what is that based on? Their looks, right? Their youth, their style. So they spend money like water, don't save, and don't buy a house. When they get older, they can't make as much money anymore. And then they want to find someone to marry, to have someone take over. The last group of women who are hard to marry off are like this, because they watch too many Korean dramas and have all become these cute girls. You know, the kind where the domineering CEO falls in love with the gold digging me, or the rich young master falls for the older me. Anyway, they're just living in their own dreams and are unwilling to wake up and face reality.